knowing what you're not is important. Knowing who you are. I mean, I think that's the hardest thing for an artist to figure out. Is what you are. What and knowing what it isn't goes a long way to figuring that out.
Well, hey, welcome to the Music Money Podcast. Today, I'm so excited to have Brian Mullins with us. He's the drummer and the other half of the rock duo, the Cold Stares, based out of Evansville, Indiana. The Cold Stares are signed to Mascot Records, a label based out of the Netherlands. Their parent company is Mascot Label Group. Under the roster includes artists such as Joe Bonamassa, Toto, Brian Setzer, Black Label Society, Gov't Mule, Wayne Sheperd, Blackstone Cherry, Bootsy Collins, and many more. Brian's band, the Cold Stares, have toured with or shared the stage with Rival Sons, Joan Jett, Samantha Fish. Festivals they've played include the Handy Blues Festival, the Copperhead Festival. Venues they played include the House of Blues, the Viper Room in Hollywood. And coming up in August, they will be roughing it at sea in Athens, Greece, playing the cruise ship event, Keeping the Blues Alive at Sea Mediterranean with Joe Bonamassa, Mark Broussard, and many more great artists. The Cold Stares have over 25 million total streams on Spotify, 200,000 monthly listeners. They're on 18 current editorial playlists. Their music has been licensed for sync by ESPN, Monster Energy Drinks, the X Games, Dodge Motor Company, and more. Brian, that's quite a bio. Welcome to the show, my friend. Thanks so much for being here.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me, Barry.
Well, first of all, I got to say, I love the name, The Cold Stares. How did you guys come up with that?
Right on. Yeah, when we first started playing, being a duo, we just did a one-off gig opening for a friend. We'd had another band and we tried, a more traditional 4-piece and a 3-piece at one point. And we'd kind of given up on that. And we just threw some songs together just to open, and I think people expected an acoustic act, and it was pretty. It was a sonic assault, for a 2-piece thing. Big bass amp on stage, just low end, and rock and roll, loud rock and roll.
Yeah.
So Chris said after the show, he's like, "Man, we got the cold stare from a couple of those cold stares from a couple of those people." So that and the Black Crowes song "Stare at Cold," we're huge Black Crowes fans. So
nice.
Chris came up with it with those two things kind of combined together.
Yeah, I love it. There's always an origin story, or you hope for one, and that's a cool one because it's sometimes they're not necessarily from a positive place. We were just getting the cold stares. They say like what Led Zeppelin they said, what Keith Moon said. This is going to go over like a lead balloon.
Yeah, exactly. It is funny, man, because stairs can be spelled a couple of different ways, and phonetically it's the same. And this guy came up to me one time in Nashville, and he said, "Man, I love that band name. The house I grew up in, the stairs were always freezing." I'm like, "Why are you hanging out on the stairs, man? Go up or down."
So, yeah, that's where you just go, "That's cool, man," and you just sort of walk off. That's,
exactly.
You don't want to make the guy feel bad, That's hilarious. So, I have to go ahead and interject this right out of the gate. I'm originally from Evansville, Indiana. In fact, and so I was just thrilled, because you guys, I left Evansville about 15 years ago and moved to Florida, and then of course I keep in touch, as all of us do, I think, on Facebook and Instagram with the folks back home, and I remember hearing like the Cold Stares. There's this band that people kept talking about. Good, actually, the guy that's best man at my wedding, he's a fan of yours and followed you for a while, and so I was like, and I started this podcast. I was like, man, I want to reach out to these guys because, growing up in Evansville, I was in a band, and this will date me, of course, but back in the 80s, actually, I graduated in 88. And so, but I was in a band from the time from like 1985 until like 1990, Southern Indiana. Of course, it was all my hopes and dreams, man. I was like, our band is going to be famous. We were actually a Christian rock band. It was my first band, but it was my first love. It was all I wanted to do with my life, and then I was like, but you can't get a record deal, because that was back when record deals were a big thing. And so I got to move somewhere else. So I ended up moving off to Dallas, Texas. And that was back when grunge was first starting to hit. And then, we moved over to LA and all that, but it's just so intriguing to me that the guys have reached the level of success that you have. I mean, not to mention just being a two-piece, but being a two-piece from, as many people would say it not so lovingly, BFE, Indiana.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I mean, it seemed very improbable or impossible for a very long period of time to me, like you said, as growing up, just like, everybody that, the antidote was anybody that quote made it, I still don't know what that means, but, left, there's been, a pretty good lineage of people there's a ton of talent, and I'm sure there's a ton of talent in every town. I mean, it just takes, finding the right people. And as a small place like this, that's hard too, to find the right people. Chris and I are both, originally from Kentucky, and we both moved to Evansville right around the same time, probably about 8 years or so ago. But I think now more than at any time, you can be from anywhere. The internet's made the world such a small place in that regard, and you can connect with people all over the world with your music now, and everyone knows that. But I wonder. You could build it that way instead of slugging it out in a van, and hanging flyers and doing it that way,
We'll talk about the van, but in a minute. But so you guys are actually from Kentucky. What part of Kentucky?
I'm from Henderson, and actually we've met before. You were in my garage one time. We had was putting together a little cover band at one point, or was trying to. And I lived in Henderson, Kentucky at the time. Yeah, and the band never formed or anything, but I know we jammed one time. And but I'm from Henderson, and Chris is from Madisonville.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So for those, of course, you guys are probably listening to this podcast going, what in the world are these guys talking about? Henderson, Kentucky is actually just across the river from Evansville. So you came over to Evansville, but I'm sure there's probably, was there some pressure that you dealt with going to Nashville? Because Nashville is only, 2 hours away? Right.
Was there pressure? Is that what you meant?
Well, that would be your obvious next step from, not necessarily moving to Evansville, but going to Nashville.
Oh, moving to Nashville. Yeah, man, I thought about moving there so many times. There were, as we all have, various life circumstances that kind of, come in and exit your life, that kind of keep you around or push you away, and, I pondered it many times, but after me and Chris started playing and things started going well, I'm in my favorite band, nice. So there's nothing, to go there and try to play on country records or play on Broadway or whatever. Just, I'd rather do what I'm doing now, it's a lovely place and so much talent. And, I just, it always bothered me. I thought, man, I just always wanted to move to Los Angeles or Nashville, but it turns out, this has worked out, so.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and just one other little minor anecdote. I happen to notice that you guys are playing at the Granada Theater in Mount Vernon, Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's coming up in August. I saw it on your schedule. I actually grew up as a little kid in Mount Vernon. That was kind of my wonder years time. I think I saw my first movie in the Granada Theater.
No way. That's cool. Looking forward to that show. That sounds like a cool venue. So.
Yeah. It's like obviously it's an old theater. God knows how long it's been there. But okay, let's kind of, because I am kind of fascinated by your history, and I definitely want to get to the more current stuff with what you guys have going on right now. Because were you guys ever like a cover band or anything? Because with just two people Were you just doing?
We never did. No, we never were. And just being a two-piece kind of kept us out of that lane as well. But it just, when someone can write like Chris, I just didn't. Neither one of us wanted to mess with covers, And I don't say that begrudgingly. I've done covers before, and I'm sure I'll do them again, and VFW gig, old time blues band, all that. I'm gonna do all that stuff, rest home band. I'm a lifer, but I'm not gonna get precious on new covers, but this man can write good songs, and I like to create, and so that's just where my head is at right now. So I'm thankful for the cover bands that I played with, because that's where you hone your chops. It's where you develop your I learned so much, learning a song and analyzing the parts and figure out, okay, why did they do this here? That really helps you when you're composing your own music. And, so it's been very helpful. But as far as Chris and I now, no, we never did that. We do an Allman Brothers cover. We do our own spin on it. And recently we did a cover of Jailbreak recording only, just as an homage, just because we wanted to.
Like Thin Lizzy?
What's that?
Thin Lizzy? Jailbreak?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. Oh, I love that song.
Yeah, it's so great, man.
Yeah.
It's so great. And it wasn't easy. It's like, wow. And once we got into it, like, oh, man.
Especially the whole dual guitar thing, too. That's their deal.
Yeah,
but, I have to know about the evolution, because, like you said, your first gig, you got Cold Stairs. It gave you a great name, but you're like up there playing originals, two guys, and then playing in a Southern Indiana play, it's just so odd. And you're not playing covers. So it's like, when did you start? I mean, it had to have been a hard road.
Okay. All right. So here's kind of the catalyst and what happened. And I feel like the game changer. And, when people ask you things like, how did you guys get started? Or what's the advice you can give, or any of that kind of thing? I always tell people one amazing song is the spark plug that you need. That's it. I don't care about age or clothes or fashion or style. I think it transcends all that. A fantastic song does. So Chris and I, we've done a few different things, and it never had what we felt it needed in one way or another. We didn't completely believe in it. Never felt like it was, where it needed to be. So we kind of took a hiatus. He came back over to jam, and he's like, it's just us, let's just jam. Just the two of us, don't worry about a band or anything else. So he comes in with the song Jesus Brother James and the song John in the same day. And I was a really big lyric guy, but they had to be like really good or really bad for me to notice, And these songs were so good. I mean, lyrically so good. I thought, this is an old Dylan song that I should know, or this is something cool that I missed. And he's getting ready to call me out on it and be like, dude, that's not how that song goes. Have you heard that song? I already have my response ready. Yeah, man, I'm just doing my own version of it. I'm trying to be creative.
Yeah, right.
Wasn't until like 2 days later, I'm like, dude, all right, what were those songs that you were, those are mine. I'm like, what do you like?
Wow.
So, I mean, it just kind of, he was writing some good songs before and some great songs, but these two songs, I was like, okay, man, I'm in on this for sure, and have been since then, it's like, that's the cat, I mean, you can fix everything, you can mix it, you can take fantastic photos. You got to have a great song, have a great song. Then everybody wants to be involved. I can't find anybody to be in my band. If you got a great song, you can,
There you go. Yeah. I mean, we've experienced some of that, with my band. I mean, we had some original, because we started as a cover band, had no intention of doing, originals ever. And then we were a funk band, 8-piece funk band with a horn section. So we pretty much,
right on, man.
And we pretty much, we did that for about 3 years without doing the originals. And, with actual true funk, there's only so, because being a cover band, you got to keep people dancing, keep them, and keep the club owners happy, keep getting booked on all that. And I felt like we had kind of ran out of all the popular, because there's really not that many funk hits. If you really think about it, I was like, most people couldn't name 5. Everybody likes funk, but they couldn't name like 5 super popular funk songs. So, I felt like we were literally running out of quote unquote new material to learn. So I was like, well, I'm just going to start writing my own stuff. If I'm going to play, I don't want to play obscure funk, even though I love some obscure funk stuff. I don't want to clear the dance floor with somebody else's song. I'll just clear the dance floor with my own songs. It was kind of our joke. And, and we started with, a couple, we weren't really kind of hitting our stride yet and all that. We made some music videos, did the whole thing and all that. And then, we started going back and writing, and we found this tune Love Shine. And you actually mentioned the Black Crowes earlier. I was telling my son, I was like, I noticed one time because we love to listen to music together. He just turned 22 yesterday, but I made I noticed one time I was like, how many really cool rock songs start with just a great guitar riff? That's the first thing you hear. It's like, like Back in Black or something like that. And I said, man, or a Cult of Personality, something like that. As soon as you hear it, it's just like, oh, turn that up, And so I was like, I just want to do a song like that. And so I wrote this riff for the song that later became Love Shine. And I don't even play guitar. I mean, I play bass, but it's like, and of course, the song's got a lot of other really cool elements. Then we made this music video where we had all of because I was going to come up with this conceptual video and stuff. And I had like a consultant that worked with me, and he was just like, dude, you guys are known for your live show. Just get all your fans to come into a venue, get a few cameras. We were lip syncing, capture the energy of your live show. And that's your music video. And it was like lightning in a bottle that day. I mean, as soon as we got done with the filming, I was like, this is it. And it has been. I mean, we've used that video to sell. We've sold over 5,000 physical CDs just by constantly running ads with that music video. Now, of course, I'm like, man, we need to make another one, or write another great song. But you're so right. I've heard these music guru guys are saying, hey, look, it still all revolves around a hit song. Yeah. That's the thing that's going to grab them and then get their attention.
Absolutely. I think the thing that you touched on that's very important is that you were stoked on it, and, once we were stoked on it and felt that, okay, this is genuine. This is who I am musically. I can be myself in this lane, and lyrically it's great. I'm not, embarrassed at some stuff lyrically. It's like, my gosh, man, this is so tongue in cheek and silly or whatever, it's like a bad rock and roll cliche, I mean, just, anyway, but you were pumped on it, and that's, we get excited about it when it sounds right and we're into it. Nothing else really matters. I know that, there could be no one there. If the sound's good and, we're vibing, then that's enough, that's enough. Everything else is extra and all that's nice too. But, when you believe in it and you're feeling it, man, that's what it's about.
Yeah, man. So take me then through the progression. So you've got these great songs. People are starting to pay attention, and then you're starting to do shows and, maybe take, how did you, because now you're with this label that's based out of the Netherlands. Like I saw, you're doing a touring in Greece, doing some, cool stuff now. It's like, what was that progression like?
Well, it was a very rocky start for a couple of reasons. So we started, the next step was to get some recordings, hey, let's record these songs. We had a few precursory attempts at recording them, but really our first full length, we recorded in Nashville at House of David. And we got it tracked down there, did the whole thing in 2 days. That's normally how we record. We'll go into the studio and we'll record drums and guitar live together, and get the basic tracks and then overdub as needed, do the vocals, do the ornamentation, Chris will play bass and, we'll add some stuff, and so we did that. And then I'm trying to remember what happened first here. Most importantly, Chris got sick. Chris got diagnosed with melanoma. I don't know if you're aware of this story, but so what happened was we were playing in the band, we're practicing, and he'd had some spots taken off of his back from the skin doctor, and they said, it's good. It's nothing to worry about. About a year later, 2 years later, we're at practice, and he's complaining about something underneath. He's like, man, I got this knot underneath my arm. Man, the worst possible scenario. It was cancer. They misread the test. It grew in him for 2 years and was in this lymph node. And but he got in a trial at Vanderbilt, and he was very sick and very scary there for a while. But he beat it, and he got in this trial, and I think that was one of many factors, to his recovery. Wow. That So
no, I didn't know
Chris
that story.
Chris is a man of faith. He'll tell you it was God's will, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure he's not right. I never felt like he wasn't going to make it. But it's still very scary nonetheless. And he was given very long odds. So we were having a little bit of success. We thought we had this a good thing going. Something else happened. We won a Hard Rock Cafe's Battle of the Bands for Nashville. We were going down there and playing, and we got in a contest there, and we won. And that was a nice little feather in our cap. That gave us, we felt good about that. And the bands that we played against were fantastic. I never understood contests. How do you say a hamburger is better than a piece of cheesecake? It just seems a little silly to me. But it was a good opportunity for us, So we went to record. We get it. Chris gets sick, so we can't do anything for a year,
Yeah.
We couldn't even play the CD release party,
Oh, wow.
And, with the surgery and everything, we weren't sure, will he be able to play guitar? Will he want to? It's a life-changing event. Well, is he going to still want to do this,
Yeah.
And,
sure.
Anyway, so those were the beginnings. He's about 6 years out now from that, I believe. So,
Wow.
we don't take any of it for granted, and, music in a lot of ways is our solace from, the things that life throws at all of us, It's kind of your escapism, It's like when you're playing some good music, in the studio or when it's right, those other problems dissipate, however big they are,
Yeah, absolutely. So let's kind of shift gears here. Again, thank you for sharing that story. No, I wasn't, I was not aware that actually happened. It had to be really tough for you as well. Cause I always think about like, Rush, when Neil Peart's
I can't imagine.
family. I mean, they pretty much were killed. I mean, his daughter was killed in a car accident, I believe, and then his wife died shortly thereafter.
Yeah,
and he just went on a motorcycle, but he was gone for like 5 years.
Yeah.
And they still kept in touch with the band. But you can imagine, I mean, you're one of the biggest bands in the world, one of the biggest touring acts in the world, and have been since the mid 70s. And you have no idea when your drummer's, if he's even coming back and when.
Right.
You understand, but you're also like, dude, it's, I need to either kind of come or go. You know what I mean? I don't know if you dealt with those emotions.
Yeah. And it was multi-ended for me. I mean, I know it was like, it's like, okay, there's the band thing, and that's in flux, and that, that's stressful. I mean, but more importantly is my friend and his health also. And it had a duality to it, and from multiple angles, I mean, but again, I'm no fortune teller or anything like that. I just never felt like he wasn't going to make it. And, and I thank God I was right, so, but yeah, it was heavy. It was heavy. I mean, but, I can't imagine exponentially more so for him and his kids and, all that. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, let's just shift gears here a little bit and kind of get into the nitty gritty of your sort of the day-to-day business of your band.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a marketing guy by trade, if you will. And so I happen to notice, it seems like you guys were releasing a new single every month. Is that right?
Yeah, that's about right. That's about right. We are releasing some singles up to the release of the album, so the album will come out in its entirety in August, I believe. So, but yeah, we're putting out some singles, and it's kind of a singles game to somewhat. With our demo, it's also an album type thing. Album oriented rock is what a lot of our fans listen to.
I
So
mean, that's kind of a common thing right now, to play the Spotify game. It's like you have to release,
Yep.
material, drip it out, if you will, monthly.
We noticed, Chris is excellent with this stuff. We noticed that the listenership would, if it was a while before we put something out, that the listenership would dip. And then, like every band, COVID, and it was hard to get content out and hard to finish things, So
Yeah.
we did some stuff exclusively from home. We had a Black Sunset EP and just digital only, and we did the Jailbreak cover. Yeah, you're right. Content, and people forget, man. It moves fast, and you got to stay in front of them.
So, and I definitely want to talk about your record company. So, what role did they play in that? I mean, are they doing the marketing for you at any degree, or do they?
Yeah, they are, and they have their avenues and lanes and affiliations and stuff, and they help, but it's not really like we cease doing all that. The record company does not. They help facilitate. Mascot's been great. I mean, better than we could have ever imagined. Their staff is so professional. I mean, it's just unreal. It's just unreal. I know a lot of people think they want to be in the music business and they'd like to work at a label. Man, there's some hustlers. They really are. They really are. And so I can't say enough good about them. If you notice, the acts that are on there are a lot of veterans, and they don't leave. So it's the great people. Can't say enough good about them. But so while they want to see you tour and they want to see you get syncs and all that stuff works together, that's not really their focus. Their focus is that album. They have a lot of other bands too. So hopefully it's a united team effort. That between booking and album release and push and stuff that we can do. T-shirts, giveaway, fan interaction. They say content is king right now. So. Yeah. It seems a little bit like, hey, look, I did a thing, splash, splash, look, Yeah. That's hard for an album oriented fellow like myself, or, back to that one great song. Sometimes I think I would prefer the focus be on an amazing record, But it's strange now, man. Taking a cool picture of your hat is maybe just as important as, practicing your instrument now. And that's, I don't know how I feel about that, but
it's bizarre.
Business, yeah.
I mean, just I don't know if the music industry has changed so much in the last 30 years. It confounds the mind, for people that have been in it, or at least knew of it, because it's kind of like it's the best of times and it's the worst of times, in certain ways, like, again, you guys being from a small town in Indiana, actually originally being from an even smaller town in Kentucky, and able to kind of break out, and now you're going to Greece and playing on cruise, these cruise blues shows and doing really cool stuff with cool people. You have that, but there's I'm assuming not money coming from record labels, like there used to be, like the big advances or things like that, where where they would basically say, hey, like the old record label game was, they had a few monster people on their roster, and then they had a bunch of other artists that they signed, and the ones everybody was feeding off the trough of the big artists, and the smaller guys they would hope maybe would break. And, but they had a budget. They give you an advance to go out and record a record, and then, and then you tour, and they wouldn't get any of your tour money. That was separate and sacred, and definitely not your merch money.
Right.
And so it's like, but that whole model, with streaming, obviously it's completely changed. And so the artists, they don't necessarily have to have a record company. But what that means is, hey, you don't need someone's permission, someone's validation to say that your music is good. We don't have a record label. But I do have fans around the country that say, hey, I really love that album. I love that particular song. Love to see you guys live. We get that question constantly. When are you coming to Seattle? When are you coming? That kind of stuff. But, but there's also, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, you don't need a record label because you're the record label.
Right.
You have to do all the work of the label. And then like, what do you mean? Well, like promoting a record.
Yeah.
And all that, and promoting your shows and everything. So it's just like, and with me, having a full-time day job and, and a wife and kids and all that, and a band that actually stays really busy. We're rehearsed. There's our second rehearsal tonight for the week.
Right.
And it's a lot.
It's a lot. And, I know a lot of people will go the route DIY and then have label services kind of fill it, they'll hire those services. I like the position that we're in, where we're all kind of working towards the same goal, and we want to be on the team, and we want the name on the back of the jersey. You know what I mean? So, so everybody's out there, a unified effort. It's good. It's I've always said I want to work with a label that knows more about putting out a record than we do. And Mascot definitely fits that description. You can always, they put a lot of records out, they're going to know things. Any label, anybody experienced is going to know things that we don't know how to do. And it's good to have that, so.
Well, and I noticed that their artists are, they kind of focus, I think I even read somewhere, guitar oriented music, or, not necessarily rock, but, because they have five entities under their model, but like Joe Bonamassa, who I have huge respect for. As a marketer and just and a musician. He's incredible. But what he's done, he's kind of taken his own path, and done his own thing. But it seems, what I was going to say is, it seems to me that a lot of the artists, you could probably definitely, open a show for Gov't Mule, and their crowd would be like, oh yeah, I'm definitely down with these guys, as opposed to just have some weird pop act that it obviously wasn't a fit.
Exactly. And I'd like to speak to that a little bit. Like, a lot of people might think, okay, well, if you're on the label with Gov't Mule, then Mascot can just snap their fingers and you're opening for Gov't Mule. Gov't Mule has management, preferences, friends, contacts, and they probably get to pick the opening act. There's the venue, the promoters have a say in all this. So it's I know, I just know myself. When I was a little kid, I thought, wow, the label can just make this happen, and it's ideally these things these doors open at the same time. Hopefully you get some good dates, tour dates when your record comes out, and hopefully you get a little push, and hopefully somebody else in another band or their management or something hears you and likes you and thinks it would be a good fit, or your booking agent,
absolutely. And that's a great segue, because I wanted to kind of, again, for the listeners in mind, to kind of walk them through, say you're talking to somebody who's, they've got a really hot band and maybe very similar to yours in a small town or whatever. And they're just like, man, I don't know anything about touring. Should I tour? And how does that work? Who does the booking, and how do you get paid? And how do you get on? I know definitely a big question with us is, we want to be on big festivals, because I know that I think Dumpsta Punk is one of the groups that's associated with one of the labels that you're on. Their music is very similar to ours. They don't have a horn section, but they're still a funk band from New Orleans. And there's other groups like Lettuce and whatnot that we would fit on the same stage perfectly. But we don't really know how to break into that festival market. And it seems like you guys have played some of those big shows. So if you could, I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's just talk to the young band that wants to tour. Like, how do you get started? How did that start for you?
Man, I really think this may be an oversimplification, and I can only really speak from my own experiences. But I think, here's the thing. I think if you build it, they will come. All right. So you got that good song. You got to have that good song. Have that that great song and represent your product well. Play in front of nobody. Hone it, word of mouth. I mean, I think that, for all the internet and all that stuff, nothing has more weight than somebody saying, hey, man, I saw this live band and they kicked ass. I saw Crowbot open for Volbeat and, man, they brought it, it's another Mascot band. They're great, and, that we saw the show, took my stepson to see Volbeat. And he loved Crowbot, so now we're a fan, we keep an eye on them and we buy their stuff and stream their music, so I think that just get out there and I think, hopefully, and hard work, persistence, just bugging people, and doing it, putting a little sugar on it never hurts either, you be nice and
for sure.
Consistent and do what you say you're going to do, and that kind of thing always helps.
Yeah, definitely. So I noticed that you guys have a booking agent or agency that you work through now.
We do. We have we're going to Europe June 22nd, Corona permitting. That's still a little touch and go. It looks like it's going to work out, at least some of it for sure, if not all of the tour. But we have a European agency and then someone else that represents us in the United States. So, and that's kind of relatively new. Both of those relationships are new. So before that, it had been pretty much DIY. We had some, folks help here and there, and but a lot of it's been DIY, in-house, So just very recently we've gotten some help.
So if you don't mind me asking, because this is the Music Money podcast, I mean, there's definitely an idea that, with original bands, that they don't get paid anything, especially when they're first starting out. If you guys want to come here, sure, you could, you take the door. What you eat what you kill. I mean, is that true? I mean, did you guys deal with that, or were you getting? Oh yeah,
sure.
Did you get guarantees?
Like when we were going to Nashville, it was it's really hard to get paid there. I mean, people don't want to pay our covers. Music City. I mean, I don't want to say they're a spoiled audience, but I mean, there's some great fans there. But you can see, I mean, it's just so much talent there. I mean, you can throw a rock and hit a great band, and it's like, God, they see it so much. They're spoiled. Now, but that's a town where you can get in front of some people, make some contacts, and so that makes sense. Now, to play a demoralizing open mic night in the middle of Arkansas for $50, no, that doesn't make sense,
Right.
You got that bad gig, can ruin the morale. It's just it may not be worth it. There's certain things, and we've said no to some things that people kind of think, man, you're crazy for saying no to that. It's got to be a good fit. We've opened up for some bands that weren't a great fit. They were quite heavier than us, and it was a much more FM rock radio audience, and they didn't get it at all,
Yeah.
And that's regardless of the money or the name of the other band that was on there, how big they are. You just don't feel good, if it doesn't, it's very much a feel thing. And I think that the more you play, you'll learn to navigate that. The show's got to make sense. But if it's what you want to do, I think saying, and especially in the beginning, saying yes more than saying no is the way to go,
Yeah, absolutely. That's good advice. So, I mean, if you guys, I don't know if you've seen that recent documentary or show or whatever it is with Dave Grohl talking about the van. It's like he's always doing those documentaries.
Yeah.
Just going back, he actually found the tour van that they had in their early days. So it's actually, it's a lot of fun. I think all his shows are fun, but, did you guys do that, or are you doing that as far as let's get in the van? Is it just the two of you, or what's?
We've done a lot of that, South by Southwest. We did it in a, Nissan Altima, I think. So everything was backline, so we got cymbals and snare and an amp and a guitar, then everything else we're sharing a gear with the other band. throw and go, all that stuff, you know. So that there's shows that are like that. Fly dates when we went to Europe. You know, you can't take a drum set to Europe. You can't take 3 amps to Europe. You know, you got to figure it out when you get over there. So that's a lesson in itself. Like, you know, especially for, you know, drummers, you know, like you can have a 19-piece kit, but you know, if you play in you're sharing gear, you know, it's, you know, as you grow, you can build your stage and, you know, your setup and different things, you know, but it just, you know, we've always been, you know, a baby band, DIY and small, and, you know, with the two of us, we're easy. It's an easy sound check. It's an easy setup. It's an easy way to go. So, you know, we've done it that way. And then we've also, like, you know, if we can, we have a good production manager now, and he'll go and bring PA and help set up and load out. And it's becoming a little bit more of a self-contained show in that regard, especially for our August run here in the States. And in Europe, it's very much a van, one guy driving a van, and us two. And so it's all the above, you know, it's all the above. But usually we're traveling in a 4-door foreign vehicle, the two of us, you know. Yeah,
driving on the wrong side of the street.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not in the U.S., you know.
So yeah, that's interesting. So like, if you don't mind me asking, like, are rooms provided typically, or you're just,
you know, it's different. It's different. My bandmate, he's the king of hotwire. I mean, he'll find a 5-star room for $30, you know, in New York City on the busiest night of the year. I don't know what kind of hucklebuck he's got going on with that, but it's just, you know, he's got the cheat code for that. So that, you know, we're small. We can stay in one room. There's just two of us, you know, and with Benny, our production manager, when he's traveling with us, you know, I'm a smaller guy. I'll sleep on the rollaway. I'll sleep on the floor, you know, but we get a room. And, you know, it's, so now in Europe, it's a little bit different. You know, it's traditionally some of the promoters and stuff, you know, it comes with food, room and board. You know, you get catering and a place to stay. They've been bringing bands over there from America for a very long time, and it's just a different way of doing things. You know, it really is. And so and then also, like, in the U.S., sometimes we played a blues festival in Omaha, and what they do is the people that put on the festival, they have a lot of people willing to help, and they, you know, set you up with VRBO, or they let you use their apartment or stay at their house or whatever. And, you know, so it's all the above there too, you know. We try not to, like, travel, like, you know, when we're super tired, and we don't party or anything. We're not that kind of band. So, and we don't like, we're grown men, man. I don't want to sleep in the car, you know. For sure.
So it doesn't make for the best performance the next day, I can imagine.
It's got to make sense, man. You know, it's got to make sense for us at this point. But yeah, so all the above, you know, it's not nothing glamorous about it. You know, I mean, I want to get that out of the way for anybody interested in doing that. Like, you know, if you even going to Europe, it's public transportation. You know what I mean? It's nothing special about it. You're sitting in a very uncomfortable chair for 12 hours, you know? Now it sounds cool saying, hey, I'm on tour, I'm going to Europe. You know, there's a lot of uncomfortability in that, you know? And I enjoy that, you know, I embrace that part of it. But if you're looking to be pampered, it's the wrong business. It's, you know, these people, man, people work hard. It's a grind. It's a grind. Keeping it just like carrying your luggage around with your guitar, keeping your passport and your wallet, and not losing your glasses, or, you know, or your snare drum or your cymbals, or just keeping it all together, man. You know, you look at when you travel somewhere out of the country or back, you're looking at 24 hours travel in real time. You know, you're gonna be zonked when you get there. You know, so it's rough, man. You know that it's kind of like a family vacation. You know, it can be grueling. You know.
Yeah. So how did Europe happen? I mean, as far as you going over there and doing shows, I mean, do you have any idea how many times you've been over there?
Well, okay, I've been with a few other bands just as like a fill-in drummer type thing. A couple other times. Chris and I have been over there once 2 years ago, and we did Sweden, Denmark, and the Netherlands, and this time we're going to do Germany, Netherlands, Sweden, UK, COVID permitting. We moved 2 of the dates to the end of the tour instead of the front. You can't get in the country right now unless you do a 10-day quarantine once you get there.
Yeah.
That's not possible for a band.
I know, right? Where are you going to stay for 10 days while it's like, oh, sure, you
can't sit around for 2 days.
I'll go to my chalet in France or Switzerland. Well, it's come on.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so, and the first time that we went over there, it was self-booked, it was us with an independent promoter wanting to bring us over there. A lot of times on these road trips, this is something that takes place too for guys. People want to do this. If you get a good gig, a festival gig, or a lot of these towns, small towns have, they'll bring in acts, regional acts, national acts, acts like us and bigger, smaller, whatever. They'll play decent. It's a good time. There's an audience there. Book one of those, and then find 2 or 3 other little gigs on the way or on the way back. Little short runs, Yeah. You'll refine it, get a taste of it, It's get your set tight, Get your travel stripes,
Yeah, routing dates as they call them.
Yeah, right.
So I guess as I'm hearing you say this, my overwhelming sensation, like if I got contacted today by someone in Europe that said, hey, I saw your band, I found you on Spotify, or whatever the story was on how they found us. We'd love for your band to do a tour in Europe. I'm a European promoter. My first thing would be like, sounds sketchy. Like, or am I going to take my whole band to Europe and put it in the hands of some foreigner that I don't, you know what I mean? I mean, did you have those emotions, or what was or even how did your family feel about you going over there and doing that? Like, who is this guy? And
no, I mean, that was never really a concern for me. I'm fairly adventurous in that way. I've never said no because of any concerns like that. I know a lot of people get freaked out. They look at the travel advisories and terrorism alerts, and man, I'm just not built like that. I just, as far as family, my wife's super supportive. Everyone understands. This is what we do, and people have to travel for work. My wife travels for work. I'm sure everybody travels for work. It's work. And
I guess I was more like not so much the travel advisories as make sure we get paid, or make sure that when we get there that, that the gig is actually happening and that it's not this hodgepodge throw together thing. And it's like you're stranded somewhere in Germany and the guy didn't show up. You know what I mean? Stuff like that kind of thing.
I guess all those things could possibly happen. We've been lucky. We've, everybody that we've worked with it's been what they said it would be. And, I think when you have communication, it's just got to pass the smell test. Does this feel right? Does this guy seem like he's on the up and up? And does it seem legit? Does he have a history? Has he worked with any other bands? You can tell pretty quick that if they know what they're doing or not. It's hard to put on a festival, a festival gig. We did one in Åland, Sweden, on the beach of the Baltic Sea. And this guy, he put on this amazing festival. The tents and everything for the artists and everything was top notch. Indiana Jones pinball game in the catering. It was just incredible. And I have so much respect for those people. Anyone that's putting on a show anywhere. It's hard to do. And it's tough to pull off for the band. It's tough for everybody to pull off. So I just think you can get a good feel with communications. Hey, is this guy know what he's doing, or does he just have an idea and hasn't thought it through? We've been lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you could always, contact references. I would have to think that the artist world, or at least management, would be like, hey, this guy gave you as a reference. Are they legit? did you run into any
Absolutely.
problems? And if they
Yeah.
said, no, that guy's fantastic, you should totally do that show, then I think you'd have the confidence.
If it's bad news, like, word gets around, and likewise, if it's good, people, like you said, a history, and then I just think like the basic communications usually reveals itself, like this guy's knows what he's doing, or maybe he hasn't thought it through. Maybe it's not right for us. Another great indicator is who else is playing and what are they doing. Who else is on the bill? Okay, that band's doing good. Maybe we've never heard of them or we're not familiar with them, but okay, they've done dates. Obviously, they're not going to work with clowns. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to this is a topic. I actually just watched a quote unquote documentary on this topic, but is rock and roll dead? And I know you know the answer to that, but I just there is a thing with like, rock music isn't quote unquote popular anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because it really isn't as far as like popular music goes. Because I don't listen to the radio, but I think if I did, I would probably hear a bunch of pop music, or I would hear very little guitar, very little rock and roll, kind of thing. And, actually, when I referred to this documentary, it was just this thing about like, these people that follow these rock festivals around, and they were basically making the point. It's like, no way, it's not dead. It's just, it's counterculture, like it started, and I guess my question of you would be, do you see that in the US? I mean, do you catch that vibe like from younger people that they're not really interested in rock? And on another note, in Europe, do you feel like it's more accepted, like American rock and roll is still popular, or it's not necessarily in the US? What's your feelings on that?
Yeah, I definitely feel like Europe is more, a little bit more rock and roll focused in that regard. I feel like they just have a different appreciation for it. I don't think it's dead. It's not as popular as what it was, and that can be disheartening. I mean, I like wooden instruments. And people say jazz is dead, but it's not dead to me. It's not going to stop me from listening to Miles Davis. So, rock and roll can be dead to everybody else in the world. It's not dead to me. So that's really all I can kind of focus on. It's like, I like other stuff. I like, all the artificial stuff that's, computer-based music and all that's cool or whatever. But, I like wooden instruments made with people, and I don't know I think that's kind of timeless. And, for I teach a lot, give lessons, and for every student I have that listens to nothing but stuff with programmed, with no wooden instruments in it, no melody, no melodic content, some of the rap stuff, it's like there's a drum beat and there's vocals and maybe one or two notes, and that's it. For every student I have like that, I have two that come in, with an AC/DC shirt on or a Nirvana shirt, and they're playing, the same stuff that I play. They're listening to the same stuff. So and discovering new stuff. So no, man, it's not dead. It's not dead. It's not popular. And man, the bands I really liked and loved, they were never that popular anyway in the grand scheme of things. So if I think it's got to be good for us that we're doing our own lane and not. I don't think anybody should ever chase style. I don't think any of my heroes ever cared what anybody else was doing.
And sometimes, and when you can tell that they did, it was usually not a great move. I went back and listened. Yeah, I went back and listened to some artists where you can tell that they, probably caved into a record label. This is, like Electric Light Orchestra is probably one of my favorite bands of all time. Mm-hmm. And they were huge in the 70s. They had one of the biggest tours in the world and all this kind of stuff. But as they were starting to get into the 80s, all the electronic stuff coming in and all that. And, they were touring with a string section, doing all that. And, I remember Jeff Lynne talked about, it was such a pain, it was so much work to tour with these, but it was the show, right? Yeah. And so there was a pressure in the 80s. Oh, you don't need the string section. You just need all the synthesizers and all that kind of stuff. And when they started making that turn, giving into the, probably the pressure from the record label or whatever, the albums are not good.
Yeah.
And I think even just Bush did that. I don't know if you recall Bush. I mean, Bush, their first record was huge. I mean, it was like every song on was on the radio at the time, and then they kind of toured forever, and then they came back with this next record. It had all these electronic sounds and drum machines and stuff like that, and of course, it had what's his name's voice on it. But I just remembered. I remember the first time I heard that track, their new single from Bush, and I was just like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me!" And I just turned it off because it wasn't what made them great.
Yeah,
it's like why would you change that?
Yeah, I see both sides of it, and I think artists want to evolve, and they get people want to create something new, or they been doing the same thing for a long time, and they want to try something else. I understand that, but also knowing what you're not is important. Knowing who you are. I mean, I think that's the hardest thing for an artist to figure out. Is what you are, what And knowing what it isn't goes a long way to figuring that out,
Yeah, for sure. Well, Brian, I want to thank you very much for your time, man. We've almost went an hour here. I'm sure we could probably go a lot longer, but I want to,
yeah, man, thanks for having me.
Respect that time. Awesome. Yeah, no, I'm so happy for you guys that you're able to. It sounds like you're finally able to. I'm sure the last year, because you didn't even talk about the way the last year has been. I'm sure it's been brutal.
It's for every other band too. I mean, there's been so many stories. I have, everybody's heard those. Every band's went through it. We're alive, we're healthy, we're going on tour. We have a new album coming out, so nothing but gratitude from us. So
exactly. All right. Well, thanks again, and I wish you guys the very best of luck.
Hey, thanks for having me, Barry. Thank you.